right. So,
Yep.
Brian, once again, thank you so much for deciding to hop on here and tell us about your experience. It truly means a lot. It's great to hear just how our product has actually helped someone and how it managed to solve a problem that someone
Hmm.
would have. So it's there's literally no greater satisfaction than to hear those stories. And what we usually do with these, we sometimes pass these along to our staff just to kind of
Okay.
give them a feel as to how they've managed to impact, our clients' lives and general day-to-day stuff and how they
Hmm.
actually are able to do their job. But we're also thinking about possibly posting this in our Facebook groups,
Okay.
just because we've actually seen that there's a huge spike in terms of the usage rate when it comes to the CRM. Whenever we post one of these and people are, talking about the great experience that they've had and, deals that they've managed to close, we actually see a huge spike in terms of the calls that are made through the CRM, the SMS, general activity,
Yeah.
right? So whatever positive, whatever good we have to share, we kind of try to do our best to make sure we spread that
Yeah. Yeah.
across. I mean, we
Makes
all know
sense.
just how much good news we actually need during this time.
Yeah.
So you're not opposed to us potentially posting this in our Facebook group.
Yeah. No. No. So it's all good.
Awesome, great. Are you by any chance a member of our Facebook groups?
I am not.
Okay, awesome. I have no problem with sending you the link later on. It's
Yeah.
great
Send me the
because
link. Yeah. Yeah.
you guys can share experiences there, and if you have any general questions, it's a great platform to actually use there.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, awesome. So, like I said previously, we usually have a set of questions. Nothing
Yep.
too major, but just to kind of see if there's any correspondence and correlation between your answers when it comes to people that have had success with the platform.
Okay.
So usually what we do is we like to start off with just checking just how much time has passed since you joined us. How long have you been an agent locator client?
Um, I think the lead gen system got set up, I believe, on April the 14th or 15th, something like that. So mid April. So it's been a
Got it.
month and a half.
Month and a half, and you
Hmm.
already have stories to share. That's
Yeah.
that's great, man.
I
That's
wish I had wish I had more to share, but I
hey,
mean,
man.
yeah, it's been good. It's been good. A really, really good start.
In a month and a half, honestly, it's great that we have you here because usually we have clients that have been here for at least 6 months because that's
Okay.
when the value of the actual platform shines because you've managed to
Hmm.
accumulate a certain number of leads. But yeah, that's great that we have you on here. I'm definitely excited to hear
Yeah.
just how the system has been working out for you. So you mentioned mid-April that you signed up
Hmm.
with Lead Gen, and that's probably around the time where you had your first training, right, in terms of the system.
Yeah, yeah. So it was actually right before we went live with the lead
Hmm.
gen site. You guys had sent me the links, I believe.
Yes.
And then I went through the links. I can't remember now what the things were that I was a little bit confused about, but I know there was
Hmm.
something that I was a little confused about. And I
Okay.
believe it was Anja that helped me out
Yes.
with the whole situation. And then I got that resolved. And from then on in, the emails that you guys send to are actually pretty helpful because
Awesome.
there's certain things that I can go back to without having to actually go through like the search for help
Right.
section. So like the mass message, I was actually sending. This is just a quick example, but I was
Hmm.
sending messages individually, like copying and pasting, and then
Oh, I
like
see.
2 days later, I got an email from you guys. Like it's just so weird. Like I got an email from you guys saying, "Hey, so this is how you send mass messages." I'm like, okay, so I guess this is the easy way to do it. So then I found out that I could mass email, and then I figured out that I could um, set up templates as well. So that made my life a little bit easier too.
we're
Um, yeah,
we're
so
good at lead gen. We're better at reading minds. So
yeah,
just a
it's
quick heads
hilarious. Yeah.
up there. Awesome, great. Yeah, the training, as I can see here, because we have that info on file, the training was with Anya. And usually what we also do is a month or a couple of months after that, we usually just do checkups, just to kind of
Hmm.
see how you're doing and whether you
Yeah,
need
she's
any
checked
help.
up on me already as well. Yeah,
Amazing, amazing.
yeah.
All right, so it's great to have you on here again, and like I said, we're all excited to hear just how your experience has been thus far. So, you're as far as I can tell, now correct me if I'm wrong, you're focused on buyer and rental leads, right?
Correct.
Correct. Awesome. And in terms of the budget, am I wrong? Because what I'm seeing here, we have 500 for buyers and 100
Hmm.
for rental leads.
Yeah,
Awesome,
I'll
great.
tell you, $100 for the rental leads.
Mhm.
Like the amount of money that is put in is actually nothing in terms of what. So for example, my my experience so far has been from the $600 that I spend per month,
Hmm.
100 being to rental, 500 being to buying.
Hmm.
I find, and this could just be now, maybe because I'm still not used to the system or whatnot, but I find that the percentage of rentals
Okay.
that come in versus buyers is far more greater.
Mhm.
Um, and it's so much like obviously it's a cheaper price point, but for the dollar value, so $100 a month, I don't know what the exact number of rental leads that I've received over a month and a half, but like
It's 100.
the transaction. Sorry.
I think it's 100. Sorry for
Okay,
interrupting.
so out of 100, um, I would say, well, I closed two rentals 2 days ago on June 1st
Hmm.
through the system, and I think I have two other people that I've already shown to, and I have another like three people that are like actively like looking. But
Hmm.
the way I see it is my entire cost essentially, let's say $600 per month plus whatever costs to run the system through you guys.
Right.
Um, the dollar value is really good for the rentals
Hmm.
because one rental essentially, I mean, it's hard enough to find something that's $1,200. So I'm just saying like finding a rental. Let's say if you do one rental per month at $1,500, which is low,
Right.
but at $1,500, you're covering your entire marketing budget, which is huge. And then
Exactly.
anything above that starts being profitable. So the way I see it is, it doesn't like I don't care. Like I like doing rentals. I don't mind. I know
Hmm.
some people are opposed to it, but um, the actual budget itself for $100 a month, to me, it's a steal
Right.
because you
Exactly.
never know what these people are going to turn out to be too, right? If
Hmm.
you nurture the relationship and if things go well, I'll tell you, there's leads that are complete garbage, but
Right. Of
I
course.
mean, to me, if you're saying I got 100 rentals and I've already successfully closed two at a 2% rate, but based
Hmm.
on dollar value, it's about a it would have been about $2,300
Hmm.
in income. I'm
Right.
good with that.
Yeah. You're not
Yeah,
opposed to that. Yeah.
yeah.
Makes
For
sense. Honestly.
$200 worth of investment, it's 10 times the money.
Exactly. Exactly,
So
and obviously it's a much higher conversion rate. So what we do is we do recommend, starting with rental leads, especially if you're a newer agent, right? Because
yeah.
not the entirety of our clientele are already established agents, that are top of the market and top of
Mm,
the area, stuff like that. So it's a much higher conversion rate, and it also kind of gets you into that entire process, the follow-up process, because you do have to nurture those leads as well, right?
hmm.
Naturally, the time needed to convert those is a lot lower as opposed to buyer leads, but still it kind of gets you into that process, gets you into that groove to kind of
Yeah.
see, all right, just what exactly am I dealing with, and it gets you acquainted with the system a whole lot more to test out
Hmm.
different strategies, stuff like that. Awesome. So you mentioned you've closed two rentals, right?
Hmm.
Awesome. Do you happen to know just how much time was actually needed to close one of those since
So
they
I
came to
know
the
the
system?
first one. So the first one I showed two properties to.
Hmm.
So she was super easy. She was easy to work with as well as a tenant in terms of
Hmm.
their personal situation was a little bit more complicated, but because
Right.
she was willing to work with the landlord, it ended up making our lives easier.
Hmm.
Um, so I know for one of them, I went out twice. One time I showed one property, the second time I showed another property because of the limited budget. And for what she was looking for, it ended up being
Hmm.
quick. The second person that I did, I think I went out 6 times. We put an offer on a place, we didn't get it because of a situation, and then she ended up seeing a place 2 days later, and we ended up doing the deal there.
Well,
So I mean, I don't know hour wise, like time
right,
wise.
right,
I
for
know
sure.
I look at it more of as how many times I had to leave to
Hmm.
actually go show them properties. Like one of them was twice, which is nothing, and the other one was six
Exactly.
times, which again is not bad. But it was okay. It was a higher price point too, so at least it kind of compensated a little bit more.
Got it. Awesome, awesome. Great. So in terms of the leads you mentioned, there's naturally garbage leads, and that's one of the dangers
Hmm.
of, online lead generation for sure. We're trying to combat that as much as possible, but at the end of the day, it's the leads that they
Yeah, of
decide
course.
whether they
Yeah,
want to
yeah, yeah,
leave
yeah.
if or not. So tell me, have you done lead gen previously, or is
No,
this your first time
you guys
around?
are the first time.
Amazing.
First time.
That's That's great
Yeah.
to hear, honestly.
It took me a
Uh,
long time to do because I've been doing this for 10 years and I never thought about
mhm,
reinvesting money back into the business, which is a big mistake on my end.
mhm.
But I mean, I'm here now, so it's not like I plan on leaving the business anytime soon. So ten
What was
years
the
late, it's okay.
decision? What was the decision maker for you?
So I had a really, really good start to 2021.
Mhm.
Um, I was completely swamped in February and into the second week of March. Um, like my gross income was really good for the first 2 months.
Awesome.
And then right after mid-March, I noticed that all the buyers, I had about 6 buyers I was working with, so all of them
Mhm.
were done. And I was kind of like left in a spot where I was like, wait a second, now I have no business to do.
All right, all dried up.
So yeah, so I didn't know what else to do, and I mean, I'll go through stages where, and this is consistently over my last 10 years, where I'm swamped for like 2 to 3 months, and then like summer hits, and I get to enjoy my summer, so I don't care.
Right.
Like as long as I make the amount of money that I want to make personally, then that's really what matters to me.
Mhm.
So my thing has always been I get to enjoy my summer. I get to enjoy Christmas because that to me is like my number one. So
Mhm.
I'll take like a month, not take a month off, but I won't essentially focus per se on the business. But when it happened that things slowed down in March, I was kind of like caught off guard. So I was like, something's got to change. I got to figure out something that I can
Right.
kind of keep myself busy with.
Mhm.
And then a friend of mine who got into the business because of me years ago actually told me that he was doing lead gen with you guys, which I knew that he was doing it, but I didn't know who it was with or how the system
Right.
worked. Um, so he actually referred me to you guys, gave me the kind of the idea. So then I did my homework, talked to a couple different companies on how I kind of wanted to handle this, and I found that your system was the best one in my opinion as to
Mhm.
how your system operates and how things kind of worked out for me. So that's kind of what threw me over the edge to kind of join you guys.
I don't mind hearing that one bit.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
thanks for that.
yeah,
But yeah, considering you're new to all this, I mean, it's great again that in such a short time span we actually have you on here to be able to share certain success stories, and I'm certain you're going to have a whole lot more.
yeah,
But yeah, one thing you mentioned is reinvesting. You know, that's absolutely something that you do in terms of investing into marketing stuff like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
What most of our top agents do is whenever they actually close a sale, certain percentage of the commission they
Goes
allocate
back.
that for. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
allocate
yeah,
that for Google Ads or even Facebook Ads. But the
yeah.
great thing about it is that you said you enjoy downtime around Christmas, downtime around summer. That's the great thing about Google Ads, or Facebook Ads. You can just
You just
turn
shut
it
it
off.
off. Yeah,
Exactly. Exactly. So that's great. Honestly, I'm very happy to hear that the system works for you. I'm
yeah.
interested in hearing as to what your follow-up process is. Do you call all leads? Do you qualify them in a
So
certain
I'm gonna
way?
be honest. I have yet to call any lead, and
Okay,
I don't
interesting.
know. I don't have like I could talk. I could ramble on the phone. So I mean that's not. It's not my like. I don't have that concern about calling a random person.
Hmm.
I just never got around to actually like picking up the phone and calling these people.
Hmm.
I don't know if it's because in my mind you don't really know if they're worth the time,
Okay.
quote unquote. Um, I find that the text messaging is fantastic, like having to be able to do that like through Twilio on the computer. Like I
Hmm.
absolutely love that part.
Awesome.
Um, so I think I get good feedback off of that.
Hmm.
Email, I'll send mass emails, but I find that either people just don't open them or they just don't respond,
Yeah,
period.
ignore them. Yeah.
The text messaging to me is what kind of works at that point.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, it's literally that. So I'll go like I set up my own text messages, and this is nothing against you guys. I just find that the messages that were auto populated through Agent Locator were a little bit too um, robot feel, kind of like
Hmm.
it's coming through like a system. So I reworded it just more a little bit
Hmm.
to my own
For sure.
words,
Yeah.
I guess. So I set my first message, I set my second message up, so they'll get that first initial message, then the second one 5 minutes later.
Hmm.
Um, the third message about I sent you listings that you guys have. That one I kept.
Hmm.
Um, and then I'll literally go through my list, which I don't know how many people do this, but I'll just keep going to the bottom of the list and kind of work back. But
Hmm.
I'm starting to realize like it makes no sense for me to communicate with somebody who hasn't ever responded, period, in let's say
Hmm.
the last let's so I've been doing this for a month and a half. So if somebody hasn't responded in a month and they haven't logged into the system
Right.
or looked at any of the emails in the last month, I'm already starting to convert them into like that garbage category
Garbage
that's
pipeline. Yeah.
there. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, whatever the pipeline. Yeah. Um, so that's really it. Like I'll just keep sending messages and seeing if people respond. If they respond, I'll try to be on top of it
Hmm.
as much as possible, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I mean that's a fair point. That's a fair point. Honestly, we haven't really had a whole lot of people here that would say that they don't do calling at all through the CRM. So that's very
Yeah,
interesting to hear. Texting is great for sure. It's absolutely great to warm them up, and especially if you get the timing right. And considering you can automate just how much time after they registered,
yeah.
you can send them a text. That's absolutely great. In terms of calling and in terms of investing time into your leads, at the end of the day, maybe what I would suggest is to kind of give them more time than a month because
Hmm.
a lot can happen in a month's time. At the
Okay.
end of the day, no two people are identical, and you don't know the things that are happening in their lives. And it really doesn't
Yeah.
cost you anything to kind of give them access to the listings.
Oh,
Taking care.
I don't shut it off. Like
Right.
I don't turn off like I don't make them invalid. I don't like I just leave them be but on the pipeline so that I
Hmm.
know not to kind of go back to it. At
Right.
least for my own eye, I know that I don't have to I guess
That's fair
spend
for
that
your personal
time.
records. Yeah.
Yeah, like I would
Got it.
never turn them off of the system because to me it's like if they decide to log in a month from now,
Hmm.
so be it. And I mean, if they see something that's interesting, I'm sure they'll reach out
Right.
um, because of that email. But I mean, I don't like. Would you guys recommend like still sending follow up messages like once a
Yes.
month now or something like
Yes,
that? Or
exactly. Just change the
okay,
frequency. Just change the
okay,
frequency. You can change it to a monthly basis, but I'm gonna
mm,
have a bit of a twist here for you. So when you select the garbage pipeline for a lead, it
yeah.
actually disables listing
Oh
emails.
shit, I didn't know that. Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay,
So
okay.
maybe
I
tagging
gotta
or
turn it back
something.
on.
Yeah, that would be
Okay.
great. Maybe you
Mm,
can tag them and create a personalized filter to kind of avoid having those in your dashboard if you don't want
mm,
to see them. But yeah, leaving them on a follow-up campaign that maybe sends an email or text once or twice a month. It literally doesn't cost you anything, and it's all
yeah,
about timing. At the end of the day,
yeah.
you're gonna luck out with someone, and you're
Mm,
gonna get that particular space and time, when they
yeah,
are
yeah, yeah.
actually looking for something, and they're gonna have you to count on. So that would be our personal advice when it comes to
Okay.
lead follow-up and lead management overall. All right, awesome. That's definitely very, very good info in terms of how you work the system, and it's great that the
Mm,
system itself can do a lot of work for you. One last thing I would have for you, and this is something that we do always ask: if there's one thing that you would single out to maybe a new agent coming to you or something like that, what
okay.
would you single out as a key to success using the system, using the maybe in the game overall?
Hmm. Um, I think communication and honesty are huge.
Hmm.
So a lot of times what I'm finding is like one of the people that I dealt with that closed, the lady who I showed six houses to
Okay.
or went out six times with, she expressed that even though it was communication through text message,
Hmm.
she found it so shocking that there was a human on the other side.
Right.
So she was saying that her herself, and I'm just speaking about her, but her
Hmm.
herself, the communication that she got from me, she was super happy with, and that's, I mean, the second text message was just it was an auto message, but again, it
Right.
sounded like me or sounded
Hmm.
like a
Like
human
a
was
human.
coming from the other side. So she literally said like, "Oh, I'm shocked that somebody's actually calling me back because I've registered on other sites and no one's ever reached out to me." So I think
Okay.
that's a huge thing. So communicating with them and kind of staying on top of them and being in contact with them, I guess. Um,
Follow up.
the other thing is honesty. Um, and I bring that up because it's so easy for us as agents to kind of want to keep that lead alive and try
Hmm.
to help them want to go through that process, but the reality is sometimes you can't help them.
Right.
And I've spoken to people that when I'm speaking to them and they start off the conversation, everything looks like they're a golden client. But then when I start digging deeper, and this is like maybe if I start having calls with them after the
Hmm.
fact of like when I see that they're serious. Like I spoke to one gentleman, he's like, "Oh, my budget's 3,000. You know, I make X amount per month. My wife is unemployed, but she's receiving CERB, and we have
Hmm.
2 kids." I said, "Okay, you know that the income alone for you is great. Do you know your credit? It was under 500." I'm like, I can't help you. Like if
Right.
unless you're willing to put like 4 or 5 months as a deposit,
Hmm.
no landlord's going to accept you. And that's the reality. And he goes, "So you really don't think I could do it just first and last?" I said, "No. Like you're better off trying to go a place like Facebook Marketplace or Kijiji and trying to find like, a mom and pop landlord that would be willing to accept
Right.
that." And at the end of the call, he said he was so appreciative of that I didn't waste his time
Yeah, it didn't lead him on.
and that I was honest with him about not being able to help him because now he doesn't have to kind of be led on. So I think that it's really important for us as agents to also keep that in mind that it's not, yeah, the deal is good, but you also don't want to waste your time. So be
Exactly.
honest with the client, but also be honest with yourself that you're not
Hmm.
going out there driving around showing properties to somebody that you can't really um, qualify at that point. I think actually to add to that, the third thing is if you could try to qualify the person beforehand or at least know that they
Hmm.
could provide you with the documents, that's huge. And I say that because some people that I've spoken to, before I go out with anybody, I'll always say, do you know what your credit score is or what's your employment like or whatnot? If I see that I start getting pushback,
Hmm.
I don't bother because at that
Right.
point it's like I already know that if you're not willing to at least even verbally give me a score or verbally
Hmm.
tell me what your income is, there's something off there. So at that point, it goes kind of back to being honest with yourself and don't waste the time. It's just like, okay, you don't want to give it to me, no problem. I'm not going to show you the place until you give me that stuff. So,
Yeah.
and that's it. I
Plenty
think
of
those are
fish in the
my,
barrel.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I think those are my top three things for anybody kind of getting into this.
Makes sense, makes sense. And communication especially, it's
Yeah.
definitely not unreasonable to expect of people that are about to embark on the biggest decision of their lives to
Hmm.
actually have a close communication, or let's even call it
Yeah.
a relationship, for lack of a better term, with an agent, and
Hmm.
that people are not just obsessed with agents are not just obsessed with the commission.
Yeah.
That's one of the more frequent mistakes that realtors do make. They approach every conversation as if it's a sale. Sure, it is a potential
Yeah.
sale, but your approach doesn't really have to resonate that to the actual lead
Yeah.
or the person that you're communicating with. So
Yeah.
that's great, honestly. And we heard a lot of those. That's one of the most common ones that we actually hear, alongside follow up. Follow up
Hmm.
is absolutely alongside that the key. You need to make sure you're persistent. You're gonna hit slumps. At the end of the day, you're gonna have slower periods, but then it's gonna pick up. You're not gonna know what to do with yourself and stuff like that. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. Definitely insightful. Thanks so much for that, Brian.
Yeah. No worries.
Honestly, that's all the questions that I've had for you.
Okay.
It's
Cool.
definitely been great chatting with you. And if you don't have anything for me, I know you're a busy man. I'm gonna let you go,
Mhm.
and we'll definitely be in touch. If you need
Yeah. Awesome.
anything, you have the email. Feel free to write.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you,
Great.
Aiden.
Thanks so much. Talk to
Have
you
a
later.
good day and have a good weekend as well coming up.
You as well, Brian.
All
Bye
right.
bye.
Take care. Bye.